Hi, my name is John Beretta. I belong to the Unit 8 Sedan, and I'm a reenactor portraying a Japanese soldier of the Pacific Theater, mostly around the battles of Saipan, and this is myself. What we have here is the basic weapons that the Japanese soldier would have. This would be the Type 44 Carbine. They were in 6.5 millimeter. 5 rounds would go inside the receiver. This is a dust cover. As you see, this one has a folding bayonet on it. They were small for artillery groups, and it was originally designed for the cavalry, except there was no cavalry going around. Now the Japanese, at the end, mid-war, they came up with a Type 99. This was 7.7. So basically they were still using bolt actions, 5 rounds as like the other one, but except they changed the caliber and they made them in 7.7 millimeter. A little more stopping power is what they were looking for, and basically it came off of a machine gun round that they developed the round from. And you still see they used the long bayonets. Now earlier in the war, they had the Type 38s. The Type 38s were long, they were 6.5 millimeter, and they used these from 1922 to the end of the war in 45. And the one on the bottom is a Siamese Mauser, except this one was manufactured by the Kokura arsenal for the Army of Siam.
Look at this, Howie.
Now we have an oddity here. This is a Type 99 paratrooper rifle. And the weird thing about this is that the gun comes apart. It's made for paratrooper groups, where this would be attached to their leg when they jumped out of an airplane. Made it for ease of travel and compactness, because you don't want to have something big get entangled into your chute. And if you notice, the Japanese had anti-aircraft sights on their rifles, being that they felt that you could shoot down airplanes with your rifles. It was kind of optimistic because it was really hard to shoot down an airplane moving at the speeds they were traveling at. Now at the end of the war, the Japanese were losing raw materials. So their design was they were getting really cheap on manufacturing these weapons. They eliminated the metal buttstock, and the raw materials that they had, they weren't able to obtain them. So the crudeness of the weapons are apparent, like in this one. This one was made actually by the Koreans. If you notice a little mark over here, that was the Jinsen Arsenal in Korea.
How you doing, sir?
Hello. And they call these the last ditch rifles. They were basically made in 1944, 1945. These guns are very unsafe to fire. They might explode. No problem. Now the standard sidearm of the Japanese was a Type 97 Nambu pistol. It's an 8 millimeter. It looks like a Luger, but it's actually not. So officers and
Ready? Oh, you want to see?
high-ranking officials, this was their official sidearm. Other than
Yeah, look how cool this one.
Yeah.
the most famous weapon that they always use is the samurai sword. And they use this against the Americans with great effect. And we have the grenades that the Japanese would have used. The Type 91 hand grenade, other than it's called a pineapple. The American grenades had a spoon on it. You would pull a pin and you would toss it and the spoon would flip off. Like the Japanese, they have a safety cap. They would pull this little cap off and there's a plunger on it. They would take the plunger and slap it against their helmet, which would ignite the igniter in it, and then they would have 4 to 7 seconds to throw the grenade. Now sometimes at the end of the war they were getting real cheap with their igniters, so when they pulled the safety cap off and they hit the grenade against their head, the grenade would go off prematurely and blow themselves up. Now there's a mortar called a knee mortar. It's a small little tube, about 50 millimeters, and they would fire these little mortar rounds out of it. Well, the Americans, when they found these, say, hey, these are quite useful. We could use these too. They're smaller than the 60 millimeter mortars that the Americans were using. So they were calling them knee mortars. So they figured they could stick it on their knee because there was a channel for it. They would put it on their knee, which ended up into a broken knee. So you don't fire these things off your knee. And then they were taking regular Type 91 hand grenades, putting a base fuse into it, screwing this on, and then you have an instant mortar round for your regular hand grenade. But you gotta keep in mind, you would still have to ignite this when you shove it down the mortar tube to launch it. At the end of the war, these are called ceramic grenades. They were issued out to the civilian population for the invasion of Japan, which, as we know, never happened. But we had, all these families were issued out really crude weapons, and this is one of them. It's made out of pottery clay. They would fill it with some sort of explosive powder, and there would be a fuse sticking out the top. And this was given to all the families to run out there and to defend the homeland of the country. And they had sticks with bayonets put on them, so they were ready. So that's why we had to drop 2 atomic bombs, because we knew we were going to take about 1 million casualties getting into Japan. Japanese shovels. As you notice, they would have a piece of rope tied from here to here. These did not fold. They came apart and they were stuck together like this. You put them together, but you see these 2 little eye slits here? Their philosophy was, if they're standing over a trench, the shovel will protect them from small arms fire. So they would go underneath it there and look like this over the trench, and hopefully that will protect them from bullets. Well, we know that doesn't work. I got different types of Japanese helmets. This is Imperial Japanese Navy, which would be the anchor. The star would indicate the Army. And this one has a little star on the front.